Hi everyone and welcome to row 4 of the Veronica Doily. Today we're going to continue using techniques we've learnt in the last 3 rows. So again, you decide how you would like to start and finish row 4. Here is a list of techniques we've already covered, so please refer back to earlier videos if you need help with any of these. I will include links in the description box. Row 4 has a 3-ring clover, a thrown ring, or as it's also known, a floating ring, and a 4-ring clover. Watch your picot sizes. The 3-ring clover only has joining picots, while the 4-ring clover has joining picots and decorative picots. We also need to be careful of our chain count. The chains coming from our 3-ring clovers have counts of 10, while the chains coming from our 4-ring clovers have counts of 11 picot and 2. So far we've been able to choose whether we worked with a shuttle and a ball or 2 shuttles. We don't get that choice in row 4. You'll need to work with 2 shuttles to be able to make the thrown rings. If you're using the same coloured thread in both shuttles, I would suggest having either 2 different coloured shuttles or labelling them as 1 and 2. Have some way to differentiate between your shuttles. This will save you some confusion when we come up to make the thrown ring. I'm using 2 colours for this row. I'm going to tat over tails to start, and I'm actually going to sew my ends in to finish. We have a joining picot and 2. Closure ring. Going to snip my tail off. And just like we did for the clovers in row 2, we're going to turn our ring slightly to the left, so our next ring can come in nice and close. So ring B, we have 2. Again, bring that first stitch in right to the base of the first ring. So joining back to ring A. We have 5. Picot and 3. Picot and 5. Picot and 2. Turn that slightly to the left. Ring C, we have 2. Join back to ring B. And we're doing 10. Close your ring. Reverse your work. I'm working front side, back side, so the stitches for my chains and my floating rings will be worked in the reverse order. If you're using the magic thread trick to hide tails, this is where you need to include that loop. We're chaining 10. So again, make your first couple of stitches and then check that that's sitting nicely in your clover on the other side. I've chained our 10. Again, I'm just going to get rid of my tail. Now we're going to work a throne ring. So a throne ring or a floating ring is a ring that comes off a chain. They can come off another ring, but generally they come off chains. Just before we start that, I want to look at where our floating rings join back to row 3. There are 2 joining picots next to each other. We need to make sure we're joining to the right one. On the right side of our work, the first join needs to have a decorative picot to the left and a joining picot to the right. So this looks easy enough. We just need to make our join after a decorative picot. Just watch this next part. Don't copy what I'm actually doing. We need to be making a throne ring, but I'm going to explain the position of this join just by pulling a loop through. So if we join to the first joining picot after a decorative picot, when we turn our work over, we will have joined to the second joining picot. Remember, we're working a chain, which means we're working on the back side. If we were making a ring and joining back to row 3, we could simply make the join after the decorative picot and it would be in the right position because rings are worked on the right side. Everything is already facing up. So even though our join is coming from a ring, it's a throne ring, and our throne ring is coming off a chain. So we need to join to the second joining picot, so that when we turn our work back to the right side, we've actually joined to the first one. Okay, back to our motif. I'm using my blue thread for shuttle 1. My red thread is shuttle 2. We've chained 10. Without reversing our work, we're going to make a throne ring. At the moment, we're still set up for a chain. So drop shuttle 1 to the side. take shuttle 2 from your chain setup and use it to set your hand up for a ring. The ring itself is a normal ring. It's made just like the others. We have 2 double stitches. Bring the first half of that stitch in really close so it sits right up against your chain. Secure it with the second half, and then we have another double stitch. Now I'm turning front side, back side, so my stitches will be worked in reverse order. We have a decorative picot and 3, and we join back to row 3. Again, we're going into the second joining picot, and we have 3. Decorative picot and 2. As you're closing your ring, it's very easy to pull your ring away from your chain. So hold both the start and the end of your ring in the pinch to pull closed. We don't want any gaps. Now we continue on with the other half of our chain. So using the same shuttle that we just had for our ring, shuttle 2, set your hand up to continue our chain. We have 11. First half of that stitch gets pulled in nice and close so it's sitting right up against our previous half of our chain. Because our chain is so long, I prefer to snug my stitches as I go. You can just snug at the end, that's personal preference. I find it just makes it easier and gives me more control of my chain if I'm snugging as I go. It's 11, picot and 2. And there is our throne ring. After our last chain, reverse your work and set your hand up for ring E. We have 7 double stitches, a decorative picot and 3, decorative picot and 4, joining picot and 3. Close your ring. Turn your ring slightly to the left. I'm going to do ring F. So we have 3. Again, bring that stitch in right up to the base of your first ring. Join back to ring E. Have 7. Joining picot and 7. Joining picot and 3. Turn your work slightly to the left and set up for ring G. It's 3. Join back to ring F. We've got 7. Joining picot and 7. Joining picot and 3. Again, turn that slightly to the left. Set up for ring H. It's 3. Join back to ring H. Sorry, back to ring G. We have 4. A decorative picot and 3. Decorative picot and 7. And close your ring. turn your work and set up for a chain. We have 2 double stitches. Make the first half of your first double stitch, bring your rings in nice and closely together and secure with the second half. And we have another double stitch. So we're making 2 double stitches, snug them up and turn your work to check that your chain sits nicely in your clover. The other reason that we only make 2 and then snug them together is because we now have a join back to our first chain. We want our stitches nice and close. So join back to the chain. And now we have 11. We're ready for our next thrown ring. So take shuttle 1, set it to the side, take shuttle 2 from your chain setup and use it to set up for a ring. We have 2 double stitches. Again, make that first half come and sit right up against your chain. I'm making 2 decorative picot and 3. Joining back to row 3. This time we're going into the first joining picot. We have 3. A decorative picot and 2. Once again, hold both sides of that ring in the pinch as you pull it closed. Using shuttle 2, set up for a chain and continue with the other half. Now we're coming out of our 4-ring clover, so on this side our chain is 10. Make the first half of that stitch come and sit right in close to the previous chain. Snug your chain, turn your work. Now you're ready to start ring J. Once again, work your way around. If you're using the magic thread trick, remember to put your loop into the last chain. We're going to complete row 4 the same way as we did for rows 1 and 2, so either with the magic thread trick or sewing your ends in. Again, both of these methods are shown in earlier videos, so I'm not going to go into detail again, but I will include how I do it for the end of row 4 if you want to stick around. Otherwise, I hope you're enjoying making the Veronica with me, and I'll see you back soon for round 5. Okay, we've almost finished round 4. So we've just made our last floating ring and chain. If you're doing the magic thread trick, Then make your floating ring and do 2 or 3 stitches after your ring. Work your magic loop in under those stitches. Have the loop part pointing to the right and the tails out to the left. Leave yourself some tails, cut your shuttles off. Now we need to take our core thread down through the clover that we first started with. On the back side, take your 2 threads and we're going to do a square knot. So we take right over left, and left over right. So front and our back. And there you go, we're ready for a block. So when we come to block round 4, we don't need to reblock what has been done previously. So the pins that I put in are basically just to retain that shape and to help place it on the grid. As you can see with the outer row being wet, it's wanting to scrunch up and sit very nicely. So that just gives me a chance to manipulate everything and get my pins in to make it sit nicely.